welcome back to AIMLOW, everyone. I'm going to turn things over to Kalina because, well, she'll explain things to you and then I'll take over again. But welcome back to the final session of AIMLOW where we're focusing on discovery space this time. Kalina, over to you.
Yes, thank you very much. So as you can all see, I'm in a rather untypical conditions because I'm actually working from the Laboratory Nazionale di Frascati near Rome, Italy. So I won't be joining you for the whole session today of AIMLOW because I have the urgent task to repair a detector, and that's a detector that Michael's going to actually show you, because it wasn't quite appropriate to go and disturb my colleagues there. So this is why I won't be with you throughout most of the session, but I will still try to join as soon as possible, because actually, let me take you a bit around, because what you all see here, okay, we will see it quite poorly because it's already nighttime. But this is the building of the first ever particle collider that that was built. And this is the Daphne collider that was built right here in Frascati. So yes, because I have to work urgently on a detector now, and Michael, you can show the picture.
Yeah, well, I'll share my screen to do that, and then
Yes.
people won't see you big anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, so sharing my screen now. So that's the picture of the detector that Kalina is taking the wires apart and putting them back together.
Yes. So yes, basically what I have to go back and do now is identify individual wires from all of these thousands and thousands of wires that you see, and I have to find certain ones that I need to disconnect, fix them, and reconnect them back. So it's a very, very sensitive thing to do, and because the whole experiment depends on that, I really now need to go back to finish that task. But I will be leaving you to Michael now, and I will join you later. So I hope you manage to use Discovery Space and this exciting new scenario that me and Michael created over the last few weeks. So yeah, I will be back at some point in this session and see how it goes. So Michael, giving it over to you now, and I hope to see you guys soon.
And good luck with the detector.
Thank you. So bye-bye from a glass hand.
And so that seems like one of the coolest excuses anyone could have to like be absent for part of a course, going to fix a particle detector. So we
I
figured,
still haven't heard that, so thank you.
oh, well, you know, once you leave, then I'm gonna like say the opposite and be like, ah, oh, stupid particle detector. They're only looking for dark matter, which doesn't exist anyway. So it's all kind of a waste of time.
Yes. Don't allow him to do that. All right, bye from me.
Okay, goodbye for now. Okay, so that was a so we started by talking about that instead of welcome you back like we usually do and giving our typical nicknames for the session. Also, it's worth mentioning, usually because we're used to doing this with both, someone always has an eye on the chat and someone like to share links, things like that. If I seem to be slow to do things because we only have my set of eyes doing that, remind me, turn on your mic, yell at me, anything like that. I probably won't be offended. I have years of experience teaching, so I'm used to being interrupted. But thank you in advance for your understanding if things go slow for that or anything like that. But I mean, there's no reason it shouldn't go particularly well. So our nicknames for this session, I'm Michael, the one to explain everything, because I'm the one left here explaining things. And Kalina, the particle detective, because she's there detecting particles and fixing a particle detector. And the focus of this final session of AIMLOW is on discovery space. We've mentioned it a number of times before, especially in the intro session, but it's an exciting new project where I'm the new EU project officer for the European Physical Society. That's EPS, the big logo up here. And I mean, I guess here I say European Physical Society and Discovery Space, in charge of the teacher training academy. So as the platform and everything else for Discovery Space is being developed, I'm busy developing ways to bring it to teachers. This is actually the first time that there's an online session teaching teachers about the platform. So hopefully you're all very excited to be in this premiere, see it for the first time and take part of it. Also, like a bit of a warning or a thank you for your patience again. Because it's still in the development stage, there are some parts of it that don't work as smoothly as it hopefully will. None of the hiccups are insurmountable, but I want to thank you in advance for your patience working along with it and any input you have in identifying problems or ways we can improve it, because it is a brand new tool which is being developed at the same time as we're starting to diffuse it. And me being in charge of like the diffusion to teachers part of it, you're one of the very first groups to be using this. So hopefully you're excited about that. Just before we go into Discovery Space itself, oh yeah, I wanted to start with the jingle. Then we got distracted by that. So this is the new AIMLOW jingle. Hopefully I remembered to have it so that sound is shared. Can someone either give me a thumbs up or like say in the chat, confirm, can you hear the sound coming through for this? Somebody either please confirm or deny whether you can hear this. No, okay. So thank you for letting me know. Rather than spending time on it because it's not a big part of the session, I'll give up on that part and just I'll say thank you to Marco for sending a new jingle. So those of you will probably remember from last time, I started off with an AIMLOW jingle from Suno using AI to create a song. It was I got the link from Marco in the first place, and last time I started with the jingle and I said, I don't really like the jingle, but that's the best it came up with 3 attempts at prompting it. If anyone can come up with something better, please send it to me. I would say what Marco sent me was equally bad. It certainly wasn't worse than what I had, but I'm not about to add them all to a playlist and be listening to those nonstop. I think there can be good uses of AI generated music. Well, any that I've heard so far is not a style I particularly like, but there's play around with it. It's, yeah. Anyways, Kalina off in the detector and getting to session 6 after we've gone through all the previous sessions. So of course, we'll have a brief recap on what we've seen so far. The big ideas, we start off talking with language models. We looked a lot about ChatGPT. We looked at GPT, and then our own baby GTP that we developed, image classifiers, including Google Teachable Machine, and our own in-house one developed by Kalina, image generators, teaching resources last time, and now time for Discovery Space. But before we get to that, from last time, your homework was to share one of your favorite resources for in your classroom. There was some slight confusion with the instructions. I'd originally said to copy the whole template, and then some of you thought it'd be easier to copy a slide within it. So then I opened it for editor privileges. So some people did that, but some people copied the whole thing, sent it with the form. I don't think I yet caught all of them that people shared, so we'll briefly cycle through the ones people shared. But don't worry if yours isn't included in this form. I'll catch it and I'll add that, and we'll send out a link with the complete set of collaboratively suggested resources for how you can use AI applications in your classrooms, or like the resource list. So if yours isn't here, don't worry, it's just because I've realized too last minute that it was a confusing mess how I'd said, okay, some people edit the form itself, some people send it with a Google form, but that'll be united. So I'll try and spend no more than like 20 seconds per slide giving a brief, hey, this is what this one is, then go on. If you're interested in them, again, you'll get the link both to these slides that have these you'll get the links. So Suno, like we just saw for song creation, video generator. I haven't played around with this one yet, so I don't know, but I'm eager to try it out. Art Guru. This one suggesting a whole bunch of apps in the form of a periodic table. It looks like a pretty cool one, and there's a link which will, I don't know what we'll do with that link. Well, it's there too, so I'll put it in the chat. No, when you're interested in seeing the slides, you can get the link, like for all of the others. Another directory of tools. Database. Herramientas. I don't remember what herramientas is. Can someone in the chat share what herramientas is? Tools. Oh, of course, yeah. Okay, so AI tools. So more like lists of AI tools. And now we get to the attendance form for today. So I'm going to see if, without getting out of the presentation, I can actually copy this link and put it in the chat. Let's see if I can manage to do that. Yes, it's in the chat. Oh, not yet in the chat. Okay, now it's in the chat. Perfect. Okay, so like usual, please fill in the attendance form if you want us to know that you were here. So I'm just shifting around windows so I can see what's going on. Okay, so yeah, fill out the attendance form in the background. And now we get to the meat of the session, or like the main chunk of the session, which is focusing on discovery space. I've already described it before a little bit, especially in the first session. But for those of you who weren't there, or maybe you've forgotten in the meantime because it might not have been the most important thing you heard that day, I'll recap. Well, I mean, of course, it's definitely the most important thing you've ever heard. But discovery space and kind of what it is and what we're trying to do together. So it's a consortium with a number of different project partners across Europe. A number of them in Greece, one in Spain, one in Portugal, one in Germany. The European Physical Society, we're geographically based in France, but as the name seems to indicate, our focus is Europe-wide. We're not just focused on France. To the extent that our main operating language, except for like office staff and that kind of thing, is English, as language of communication between different countries rather than French, which comes up as very confusing for whether we should be creating our resources initially in English or in French or in some other language. But anyways, that's all the partners working together on this project. And the main idea and the part that I'm going to be talking to you about today is an electronic platform that uses an AI-powered chatbot to guide students through individualized learning pathways. So there's a couple of images here to explain. Like the key part here is these 5 points that are 5 stages of an inquiry investigation cycle. There's different versions of inquiry cycles that can exist. And so just within the scope of the project, this one was decided with these predefined phases that all learning scenarios will have some activities for each of these parts of a learning scenario. And as the learners progress through them, you'll see this infographic or like this figure has these circles below different stages, then arrows going between them. And that's to visualize that within each stage or within each phase, there could be a number of activities that students go through before they go through the next phase, and then they'll go through the activities for one before they go out. And it's got this secular nature in that depending on the learning needs that are identified as the student answers questions or navigates the scenarios, they'll be given an individualized pathway that might include different activities, more activities, less activities, depending on both how fast they're progressing through it, but more depending on the type of answers they're given. Right now, and again, this is the early stages of the platform being used, and having students, well, having teachers at first, and then hopefully having students run through it. Then a lot of the answers are like based on a multiple choice answer. What's the most correct answer? What's the wrong answer? Things like that. And then one of the simplest things that can happen is if a student gets a correct answer, they'll move on to a next part. If they get a wrong answer, they'll get some kind of help or guidance that would lead to getting that answer correct another time. But also some of the answers are structured, or some of the scenarios are structured in such a way that some of the answers would lead to the idea this student might be able to spend more time on a challenging activity while the other students catch up to that through a regular pathway. So that's kind of the idea of these differentiated pathways. We can see this Sankey plot, which gives a picture of the same 5 phases here: engagement, hypothesis, experiment, analysis, reflection. But we have different learners that are sent through different pathways. In this one, it's visualized as the higher performing learners going through like a top level pathway. Some might be at the top throughout. Some might pop to the top and then back down. Some might start at one part and then so there are different pathways that students can take rather than being streamed in a traditional sense where they might start at the top and go through the whole scenario that way, or the other way around. So that's kind of the theory behind what we're doing. But for a lot of today, we'll go through actually trying it out, and hopefully you'll get to experience what our brand new scenario is like from a student point of view. And then hopefully some of you might be interested in testing it out with your own students. But we'll get to that in a sec. So I'll stop sharing my screen in 3 slides from now, because showing you the authoring tool rather than just screenshots of the authoring tool is going to be more useful. But just as a heads up or where I'm going with this, with the online platform, I'm going to be showing you the authoring tool that I use to create this scenario. Any of you who are interested in having teacher access to either copy the scenario, make your own scenarios, use scenarios with students, you'll be able to get teacher access. By default, we're not giving that out unless you ask for it, because it'll get confusing to keep track of a bunch of accounts if people aren't intending to use them. But it's a free platform. We're encouraging teachers to use it. So anyone who wants access, just write me after the course and I'll send you back an email with an access code for how to create a teacher account. But it does need some guidance in how to do that, which is another reason why, like in the email I sent, the credentials, which I'll explain, are student credentials, just because yeah, there's a bit more learning involved than what we have time for today to be able to use the authoring tool. Also, the authoring tool, in terms of like full term or like several months from now, we're very eager for teachers to use it to author their own scenarios. At the moment, authoring a full scenario is a little bit frustrating with how it is right now. So if anyone's really eager and wants to play around with it, you definitely can. But like that's why we're not saying today, okay, everyone, here's a teacher access, go crazy. So you'll be using the student view today. And again, I'll share I'll keep sharing my screen, but go into the platform to show you through that. And then I'll get back to this and share these links in the chat when it's time for that. The one to the credentials, you received an email with that earlier. to make sure you have it, and so you have it for later if you want to connect and go through the scenario again. But don't try and connect yet, because I haven't yet assigned each of you to your own credentials. It's not going to be that complicated, but we'll get to that in a second. So I'm going to go out of here and switch tabs. It will actually full on switch windows. I don't think it followed with how I set to share the screen. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second and start sharing my screen again. Lost my controls. Okay, so sharing my screen, and now you should have a view within the discovery space. You should now see my screen being shared within the discovery space platform. Okay, so I'm gonna log out just to start with, like, how you log in. Maybe it's not too secure. You see my username is Michael. Please don't try and hack into my account. I don't really care if you do, but someone in charge might. So, I mean, it's only so much wrong that you could do. Like, yeah. Anyways, within the platform, when you have your student access, which is that's what you'll have today, you'll see the student view. I'll get back to this in just a moment, but I want to show you the authoring tool, because that's both what goes on in the background, but to have an overview or kind of like a map of where you're going, then it'll be useful to have this. And I'll be at times sharing this as you're making your way through the learning scenario to say, oh, okay, that's where you are here. I'm going to skip right down to the bottom at first. This is written really small, really small. I was on a Zoom meeting. Well, actually, it was Google Meets, but a video call with the development team yesterday to go over things last minute before presenting this for you guys today. And I was thinking, oh, it'd be great if we could have this written bigger. Apparently, it's something how I wrote the scenario and the loops with it, and it's auto-generated small, and it's not easy to zoom in. So sorry that you probably can't see what any of these things say unless you like go up really close and squint. Don't worry about that, because the specific things don't really matter, and I'll describe the parts that matter. But this shows the different phases. The engagement phase here, a couple of activities within that. Most of this is a pretty simple pathway from one to another. Things get a bit messier in the hypothesis phase, where you could be, and oh, and I guess I didn't explain what this scenario is about. It's about classifying galaxies and training a Google Teachable Machine to identify different galaxies based on pictures of them from the Zooniverse data set, which is a really cool and big and important citizen science initiative with loads of free data, 200,000 pictures of galaxies which you can identify. Which one of the challenges coming up with this scenario was, how do we get a much smaller subset of that to give to people using? Because like an individual student or teacher, they're not going to be able to handle 200,000 images at a time. So there's two different ways to do that, which comes up in the experiment phase, because the experiment here is teaching Google Teachable Machine. The analysis phase is then using Teachable Machine to identify images of galaxies. Well, to identify, to classify, I guess, because it's a classifier, and then going through evaluating and reflecting upon the accuracy of the identifier, tweaking around with the number of epochs and the number of images it's generated on, and then in the reflection phase, going back and comparing with classmates once they've gone through it as well. So I wanted to show you the map for that while I'm still in teacher view or the authoring tool, just to show like the individual parts of the phases are populated this way. So I can click on any of the phases, see the different activities. A bunch of these are classifying galaxies by hand. Experiment phase, getting the data. Well, and I'll mention that because I came up earlier. So the way that we did it to get the data was with a bunch of code, which Kalina added to Google Colab. So students going through this will be guided through how to fetch the data from Colab. Notice at the top of this one, and you'll find this if you go through this in the scenario, I added this boldface text at the top that one of the steps is downloading the 3 GB Zooniverse data set with those 200,000 images. That's how the program works. If you're not on a metered connection and you have fast Wi-Fi, it takes less than 5 minutes to do that. I was surprised my connection was fast enough for that because I'm in Paraguay and I assumed my connection would be bad, but turns out I was wrong. But if you are connecting with a metered connection, you probably don't want to go through a 3 GB step. So be warned on that. This is also a lot harder than the previous step. So if we go back to the phase, you're given a choice either just downloading from Google Drive. So we pre-made sets of 50 images. They're very easy to download. The images are formatted so that they're small each, which is perfect for running through Teachable Machine. They upload quicker that way. Each image is 10 to 15 kilobytes. So the 50 images, it's less than half a megabyte, like really minuscule size. Just trying to think if I got that right. I think it is as small as actual kilobytes, yeah. And a set of 1,000 of them was only on the order of 10 megabytes. Like, it's impressive how small, but when you're looking at the telescope image, if it's looking at something far away, there's not that high resolution you can have anyways. And to format it for the purposes of Zooniverse, you don't need high resolution. So that, like, the joys of working with low res pictures, it's wonderful that you, yeah. Anyways, I won't go any, I won't ramble on anymore in teacher view. I'm gonna switch to student view to show you what to expect. And here I'm logged in as myself, so I can see a number of scenarios. You're only gonna see 2. You'll see Michael, refraction and Snell's law, which I need to get around to renaming the magic of refraction because that's a much cooler name, and that's what I call it. I just forgot I hadn't renamed it here. And you'll see Zookeepers of the Galaxy, which is a bit of a play on words on Zooniverse. We're looking what's like a smaller version of the zoo, or what are we trying to get students to do identifying images. And so you'll start and you'll be presented with the scenario with this chatbot Plato, which will guide you through. If I go to start, it'll load to wherever I was in the scenario before, which can be problematic. No, this is near the start. But if when you start, it's a good idea, especially because I'm giving you logins that are just indexed AIMLOW 1, AIMLOW 2, AIMLOW 3. In case Kalina or I went in there to test anything and forgot to restart it, restart before you start. Or if you start somewhere that's not labeled as E1, so data deleted, ready to start. If you start somewhere that's not E1, the vast world of galaxies, click on the restart button. There's both good and bad reasons why, and things about why you need to do that to restart, and why by default it doesn't start at the start. Part of it is actually very useful, especially as things are being improved, because one of the things to watch out for, and I'll try and remind you of this as you go through it, if you click on a link within the scenario, that'll by default open within the tab you're in and replace the discovery space scenario, so you'll lose where you are in it. But then when you get back in, this feature of starting wherever the latest point you got to was, will get you back into it where you left off, rather than restarting. So in some ways it is a handy feature. Anyways, you'll be asked if you're ready to start. I'll just go through the first activity to show how this works. But it's more interesting if you're doing it rather than having me tell you to do it. So I'll quickly switch, like very soon I'll switch over to you guys actually doing it. So you'll be presented with pictures of galaxies. And one of the Features. Yeah, I don't think it's fair to call it a bug. One of the features which needs to be improved, the chatbot at times covers part of the activity. So you might need to play around with your Zoom settings. Like here, I tried dragging that. That didn't make the problem any better, maybe worse. But if you drag and scroll, then I lost the chatbot completely, but I can see all the images. The chatbot's down there. So there are a couple of things with seeing it. You might want to change the size of your window. You might want to change how zoomed in or zoomed out you are on your browser. That's an issue we're aware of that will be fixed, but it's not going to be fixed this week. So if the chatbot blocks something when you're working your way through it, the easiest workaround is play around with the size of the browser and the zoom settings. Okay, so this activity starts out just asking which fits the pattern, A or B, which one of these two looks most like the rest. And in the chat, write A or B, which you think looks the most similar to these. You haven't been given any other information about how galaxies are classified, but just looking, take a guess which of these images, this one B here, or this one A here, fits some kind of pattern amongst these images. And we're getting some guesses in the chat. Oh, both A and B, so it's divided. And an interesting thing, which might frustrate some learners, but I like the pedagogy behind this. We can choose either A or B, and you're not yet told which is the right answer. You're presented with another set of images. Yeah, we're E3, and this is another set of images. And then you try and do that. And it's only once we get to the hypothesis phase, you're given more information presented with the same images. So just like when you go through the scenario, I'm going to leave you wondering. And one way, like that's word or one term for that, is creating cognitive dissonance. Because now, hopefully, you're curious and you're thinking, but wait, some of us think it's A, some think it's B. We need to learn more. And so now I invite you to use the platform and to learn more. So the next part, I'm going to go back to my slides for this. So I'm going to stop sharing and start sharing again once I copy the link to put in the chat. Okay, so link copied. Screen will start being shared again. Screen is now being shared again. And in the chat, you will now have two links that come through to the chat. So one is to link to the portal. So that's where you go to log into the portal. The other is the credentials. I should be able to switch tabs. Can someone in the chat let me know if you're not seeing the list of credentials here? And I'll like change how I'm sharing so that you do see it. Yes, you see it. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so we have 30 auto-generated passwords for up to 30 of you to access this platform. There's 16 of us total, including me, in this Zoom session. So we have more than enough logins. But the question I asked myself when preparing this, how do I assign each person to a unique one with the least effort possible? And my solution for that, and you can let me know if you think this is a good idea or a bad idea. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to create breakout rooms that I'm not going to ask you to enter. It's just by assigning breakout rooms. If I assign a number greater or equivalent to the number of participants, you'll each be assigned to a different breakout room, which will then be your number. So if you're told go to breakout room 8, don't go to breakout room 8, but tell yourself, I'm number 8, and then go to AIMLOW 8. You'll use that as your username, and then you'll copy and paste this, and you'll use that as your password to get in. So it's kind of a weird way of doing that, but when I was thinking of like, I could message everyone individually, I could email it to you ahead of time, but there's 70-something people signed up for the course. No more than 20 regularly show up. it doesn't make sense sending out 70 access logins. So that's the way of doing it. It's a weird way. So again, don't go to the breakout room. It's just to assign you a number. It's a weird way to assign you a number, but it should work. So it's going to send you to well, it's going to give you a link saying join breakout room. Use that as your number. So it's opening now. You now all have a unique number between 1 and 15. Again, don't go to the breakout room. That's just your number. Use that number and go to the AIMLOW of that number. Use that password to log in. If you have questions on that, let me know. If anyone needs more time with the breakout room number shown, let me know. But within about 20 seconds, 30 seconds, I'm going to close the breakout rooms to avoid anyone being confused and leaving. Okay, so now I'm going to close the breakout rooms. Hopefully everyone understood the instruction, and hopefully everyone's getting into the platform. It might take a moment to get into the platform. So just take a moment to try and do that. The next thing, I'm going to go back to my slides for the next thing. And again, this is my first time ever taking teachers through this platform online. I've done it in person, and it's a lot easier to troubleshoot people having connection problems or not knowing how to go through things when it's being done in person, because someone can just raise their hand and I can come over. Some people might have a hard time updating in the chat. They might be shy to like say to the whole group, oh, I'm having this problem here. You can use the chat to send me a message individually. If you're not shy, just use your microphone, tell me as you're going through issues. But also, I can't walk around the room and check out everyone's screen to see where you are, that you're in part of the scenario, anything like that. So I've come up with this plan asking you to make progress updates, where every once in a while, and we'll spend about half an hour, slightly more, like 35 minutes in the learning scenario testing it out. Roughly every 5 to 10 minutes, I'll say, okay, everyone, please take a screenshot, update me where you are in the scenario, because then I'll be able to get an idea of how people are progressing through. The passwords again, yes, I shared the link to the credentials so you can get there to copy and paste it. If it'd be useful to have it on your screen, I can do that again as well, but I'll reshare in the chat because sometimes breakout rooms will mess up where it is in the chat. Oh yes, and this link in the chat for the progress, yes, of course, I'm about to put this in the chat, progress form. And once you're in the platform, to show that you're in, then please send a screenshot via the progress form so that I can have an idea, looking at the progress form, how many of you are in already, and whether or not I need to go back and explain to do it. And looking at some of the things coming through in the chat, one that was sent in private, but I'll repeat it without identifying who. I mean, you're probably not shy and don't care, but the answer could be relevant to everyone. So someone's saying they're on their phone and asking if they can do it later rather than doing it live. Yeah, of course, you don't have to do anything I don't want you to. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. Also, it is frustrating to do on a phone, especially while trying to keep up with the Zoom meeting. So it's probably more frustrating than it's worth trying to do it from a phone if you're on a phone. However, very useful for actually using in classrooms because sometimes students have phones but don't have computers. I tested this out last month in Sofia, actually with Kalina, at a good friend of ours's school at the National Science and Math School. And for some reason, they didn't get the message that I wanted students to have laptops. And so we tested it with phones, and it works with phones. We didn't test them having in a Zoom session as well. So again, I don't blame you, and I won't be mad or anything if you decide you're not going to try it out today. If you're not trying it out, you might be a little bit bored as others are trying out. Oh, and as I'm answering these questions and saying these things, if you're in, go through the learning scenario, start going through it. What I'm saying is not necessarily interesting for people who aren't in this case. Okay, so the excellent question, Farah. Do you use any of the credentials? So I assigned you in breakout rooms to assign numbers. Use that number. If you forgot what number breakout room you were assigned to, just choose any number that's higher than 16, like 16 to 30. The chances of two of you randomly picking the same one is low enough that I'm okay taking that chance. So either if you remember your breakout room number, then use your breakout room number. If you don't remember your breakout room number, pick any credential, number 16, 17, 18, anything above 16. Ooh, someone used the credentials and can't log in. I would say in that case, choose a different credential. Again, just randomly choose from 16 upwards. Although if this is a problem, if there's a problem more than one person is having, I might need to regenerate credentials. It could be, and I'll go back to the spreadsheet of credentials. Okay, so at least Valeska got in right away. I'm assuming others did. So as long as it's not a problem with all the credentials, if one set of credentials doesn't work for whatever reason, just pick a different set of credentials. If that still doesn't work, it might be something with how you're copying it. I'll try and speak to answer specific questions, but otherwise, exactly how you put in the username could matter as well. And I don't know if it's case sensitive or not. That's something we test easily, but if we don't know otherwise, assume that it is. And try and make sure you don't have any accidental spaces or anything taking up characters. If the issue is not resolved, ask the question again. I'm going to assume and hope anyone who's not bringing up issues is in the platform already. So yes, hopefully you're entering the scenario and starting to progress through. I'm here to help if you have issues. If you don't, I'm going to stop talking because me continuously talking may be a distraction to some of you who are working through the scenario. Okay, and I think now in terms of timing, also in terms of being consistent, when I gave a 5-minute warning 5 minutes ago, now is when we're going to ask people to stop using the platform, or at least to bring more attention back to us, because we're going to go over a couple of conclusions. Also, like I'd said before, if you have any final screenshots to share, please do that as well. If from having used this and gone through the platform, you have any overall feedback that you'd like to share, please share it either in the chat right now, in the progress form, so we have it with the list of feedback or problems, or if anything comes up later, please get in touch with us, because as we keep saying, we are very eager for input and how we can improve this, because this is very much new and currently being developed. So certainly in terms of developing learning scenarios and training for teachers, I'm very eager for more input and ideas. And the development team, through the process of us feeding back to them and working through things together is very much interested in making the platform as good as it can be as well. So I guess with all that being said, I'll start sharing my screen again for a couple of concluding things and a very quick whirlwind recap of the whole AIMLOW course and some of the main ideas. Kalina, do you want to be the one talking, or should I keep talking for this?
Well, you can start at least, and then I will join because I am just sitting down.
Okay, perfect. And I, for some reason, wasn't able to share it as a slideshow. Now it should be as a slideshow. So now the concluding 10, 15 minutes of the whole AIMLOW course. So a very quick recap of some of the big ideas throughout the session. So very near the beginning, one of the things we started doing was the keywords that you guys contributed, including, and the link to the slides of key terms, just to remind you what these were. We collaboratively came up with different definitions for key terms. So you'll have the link to this in the slides. If you're in the intro session, you should have it already. But this could be useful, say, if you're teaching students about artificial intelligence. We talked about language models and our very own baby GTP. Kalina, do you want to say anything about your baby before I go on?
I actually have a very important thing to announce regarding all of the codes that we demonstrated, not only for baby GTP, but also for the classifier and the GAN. So, but yes, regarding baby GTP, it's quite good because there are not many online tools to actually experiment with LLMs on such low level. So I'm going to spoil the new announcement a little bit by saying that we are making it more available for everyone who wants to use it. So with that, I think that many of you, if you want to play and train it on whatever you're interested in, you will be able to do it.
Excellent. So I know some of the people are excited about that. To remind you, we played Overfit the Game with American Pie, where, oh, that's okay. We don't need to guess about the frequency of words in that again. Then collaboratively, with input from all of you, we came up with some tips for how you prompt an AI text generator like ChatGPT in an effective way. Things like using it for brainstorming ideas. Be aware that you can spend a lot more time reading than prompting, which is the first time ever it's been that kind of situation in the world. And prompting, like we kept saying, prompting could become in and of itself a full-time job, or at least a skill that's important for jobs. In session 3, we looked at image classification, both Kalina's in-house image classifier and Google Teachable Machine. Our first, no, okay. I wanted, Teachable Machine, but also, should I talk about the saliency maps, or do you want to say anything?
I can take over here because we did an important step that I want to emphasize once more, and I have been hearing this more and more from my colleagues, that it's very important not just to train AI and to use AI, but also to know what it does and what it learns. And that's what we did using these saliency maps, these feature visualizations, and so on. And I want to once again share with all of you guys that this is a very, very important step, especially in using AI for some data analysis and for specific scientific or technical tasks. So maybe even in the future, more and more effort will be put into extracting what the models have learned. And with you, we took the first steps in that, AI explainability.
Then is session 4. We went over image generators, both the inner workings of how they do, of how they work. Kalina is one that she developed, and different online ones that are available.
Yes, and should I?
Yeah.
Yeah, should I add that this is actually a very complicated version of a neural network that we managed to train? And we managed to actually get, okay, not good results, but meaningful results, even with very, very, very limited resources.
Well, I mean, you did have the work of a supercomputer compiling things for like
Yes, but still complained to the resources that all of these online tools like ChatGPT and all of the image generators and so on use. The supercomputer I used is nothing compared to those.
Well, and the computing power that's required was one of the take-home messages when we talked about online generators and how often they'll be limited in the amount that they'll generate things just because of the sheer amount of computing power. Well, I mean, that's one of the limitations. So if nothing else, the energy or electricity that's used in the computation to make each one of these images is a non-negligible amount because it takes that much computing. From that, one of the ways teaching about algorithms, we use the mystery objects, which we have that collective shared set, which was shared with you, I guess last time, that recently. So again, hopefully that'll be something useful for some of you for teaching your students about how algorithms work. Anything to add, Kalina?
No. Okay, actually, yes. What I would also like to add is that not only this, but this combined with the resources that we showed about visualizing how algorithms work is actually a very good initial step in teaching about AI, even if you're not a computer science teacher, but also like mathematics, any kinds of natural sciences, because all of this is actually has its roots down in physics. The Nobel Prize was given for this this year. After all, biology as to how neural networks actually mimic the human brain and so on. So all of this, when we are on the stage of talking about teaching, we talk about AI and computers, but this all is rooted into the basic natural sciences.
And then we concluded today going through the Discovery Space online platform. Hopefully that was an interesting and exciting experience for you guys. It was exciting for us. It was also exhausting getting the scenario authored. It was exciting because we're excited about like what we're doing and sharing it. But as I mentioned when I said we are happy to set up teacher accounts for you to use it with students, but authoring a tool is a little bit exhausting at the time, at the moment. There will be future training. Probably I'll be the one to run it because I'm in charge of that kind of thing. But there might be other people running it as well. But there will be future training on how to use the authoring tool to author scenarios. But that's likely not going to be in the next several months. The focus of the project for now is having a small number of learning scenarios, getting feedback from using it, fine-tuning things, getting it easier to author things before we try and get you doing that as well. But that is a feature of the project that we are very much open to, and it's just the resources aren't necessarily ready for it to be easy for you to do yet, but it certainly is ready if you're ready to try this out with students. And I mean, we're still fine-tuning the scenario, and from what we learned from you guys running through it today, we will be making improvements. But if you want to try it out with students, then just send us an email, and we're very happy to help you set up a teacher account, kind of take you through how to do that so you can try and run it for students as well. So I think this is the last slide before like the final one where we share our contact information. If not, there's like one more after that.
I still have to make my announcement about the tools,
yeah,
which I spoiled.
For that, I kind of that slipped my mind, but it stands enough for itself. It doesn't need a slide. But
Yes.
Do you want to have that as like the final announcement, and I'll go through this, which is in line with what I was saying just before now?
Well, if you don't mind, I could just say it now.
Okay.
Okay, so yes, as I spoiled it a little bit earlier, so far some of you have asked us for the code for Baby GTP, the classifier, and Baby Gun, and I have sent it to you along with detailed instructions how you need to have a Linux operating system with a bunch of libraries, Python compilers, and all of that kind of stuff in order to run these things. Well, when making the scenario that you did today, I actually discovered that Google Colab, which some of you at some point might have used today. I don't know if you have, because I was absent for this part of the session. But anyway, Google Colab can actually run TensorFlow. And because of that, we can compile the neural networks in all of these browsers. So this will be available, and we will send it to you by email very, very soon.
So hopefully people are excited about that as well. And
so please continue.
Okay, so I mean the first 2 points here I'd already mentioned before. Also that I'm running free training for teachers around Europe. Online is pretty easy to set up. If you're interested in something happening for your area, like a group of teachers there, let me know. We can coordinate a date and time, and it should be pretty easy. Even if something comes up last minute, I'm often available, so just ask. For things in person, there's not an unlimited travel budget, so I try and tag on when I'm going other places for other things. For example, the next couple of weeks, I'm very excited to be back in Spain on Friday with Jose Luis, who's in this course, and with some other great teachers, including Ana Belen, who's a fellow scientific ambassador with Jose Luis and I. We're doing an in-person event where we have 60 teachers signed up in Cuenca. Then some other stuff in Spain, but yeah, I don't have the exact details, which sounds odd that it's so soon and I don't, so I won't say more about that. But certainly France, where EPS and where I'm based, is easiest to get to. Second from that, Spain, doctoral studies there and a lot of connections. So if you're in either of those places, probably can set up in-person stuff. If you're further afield, probably just online, but like ask if you're interested in things, and we can certainly look into anything. And we will, as time goes on, be developing more learning scenarios. I'm especially eager to develop ones of the style of this one on Zookeepers of the Galaxy, where we're also using the platform to teach about artificial intelligence. Most of the learning scenarios aren't designed that way, but I think that's something that a lot of teachers are eager to have a resource for. So there's a couple of ones in the works for that. Likely we'll have webinars, like a one-off course for different ones as they come out over the next couple of months. So we'll be eager to keep you informed and to have you guys along for that as well. Also, there was a question in the chat about certificates, and a lot of you are probably eager or curious to hear about that. So we'll try and get those sent out next week. Probably because of this being like part of EPS and the Discovery Space Project, once the certificates are designed, which I guess I could have done ahead of time instead of after the course, but it was kind of busy preparing the course and stuff, then I'll probably need to get them approved by bosses and things like that. So hopefully it won't take long. It probably shouldn't. On that note, the recordings still aren't up for quite a number of ones. Hopefully those will be added in the near future. It's kind of beyond our control, so sorry about that. Any other things we need to mention, Kalina?
Well, I don't think so. At least nothing I come up with right now. But I hope that we all stay in touch. So anything we need to share, we will be able to.
Excellent. So once again, for everyone, thank you for joining us. I hope that this course was interesting and useful, and you can apply it in your classroom. And we're eager to hear from you, both on how you can use it, and if we can help to get any, if we can help with the implementation of any of it, especially for Discovery Space, because there are some resources available to run training and things like that.
Yes, I also want to join on that by saying that our emails are like always open, no matter what time after the course and so on for any questions, any suggestions, any even reports on what you did. And if you want to share something, please do. We will be very happy to see, to read, and to help you if you can.
And with that, I think I'll stop the recording. We'll stay online if anyone has anything they want to say, but like doesn't want it to be caught in the recording or anything like that. But that concludes the course. So thank you for joining us and have a great evening, everyone.
Yes, also thank you from me and to all of the people saying thank you in the chat. So thank you so much for being with us for this week's, and we hope very much that this was useful for you.
Wisdom light, teaching methods up the game, changing everything but the name. AIMLOW, gotta say, helps us every single day. AIMLOW, hear the chime, bringing teachers into prime. Strategies and plans refined, AIMLOW keeps it all aligned. Tailored lessons one by one, any subject it's well done. AIMLOW, here we go, guiding students in the flow. AIMLOW, time to cheer, making teaching crystal clear. From math to lit, it's got the knack, keeps the kids right on track. With a touch it shows the way, AIMLOW saves the day, hooray! AIMLOW, gotta love all the help it's thinking of. AIMLOW, always true, bringing fresh ideas for you. Strategies and plans refined, AIMLOW keeps it all aligned. Tailored lessons one by one, any subject it's well done. Strategies and plans refined, AIMLOW keeps it all aligned. Tailored lessons one by one, any subject it's well done. Strategies and plans refined, AIMLOW keeps it all aligned. Tailored lessons one by one, any subject it's well done. From math to lit, it's got the knack, keeps the kids right on track. With a touch it shows the way, any subject it's well done. From math to lit, it's got the knack, keeps the kids right all on track. With a touch it shows the way, AIMLOW saves the day, hooray! AIMLOW, gotta love all the help it's thinking of. AIMLOW, always true, bringing fresh ideas for you. Hooray! 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 From math to lit, it's got the knack, keeps the kids right on track. With a touch it shows the way, AIMLOW saves the day, hooray!